I'm Colin Seale, the founder and CEO of Think Law and the author of Thinking Like a Lawyer, a framework for teaching critical thinking to all students. And I'm so excited to be one of the presenters at IAGC's Equity and Inclusion Summit this year. And when I think about this construct around terms of equity and inclusion, how we can start to get a step in that direction, I thought about one single thing that we can start to do a little bit differently to start moving in a very powerful way towards this mode. Almost every single school system has a mission and vision statement where we talk about something about developing critical thinkers and citizens that are capable of doing whatever the case may be for all students. Talking about how we can give all scholars the opportunity to do X, Y, or Z, or A, B, or C. We talk about creating this community and equity for all, and we love using that word all. But here's the challenge. I don't really know who all students are. Oftentimes, when we say all students, we're basically using all students as a proxy for that middle of the road average kid, that middle child. When we say teach to the middle, that's who that middle child is. But we have no clue who that is because it's a mythical figure. There's no such thing. So, what I urge you to do, if you're trying to shift the conversation in your school system, where we're not really thinking about the broad construct of equity, I urge you to push yourself to not just think about all students, but to think about each child. If we start making that transition from all to each, it forces us towards a more individualistic lens of what students' needs actually are. It forces us into a conversation where if we're really trying to create the ideal conditions to unleash the magic that each child is bringing to the table, it forces us to think more about our children who are gifted. It forces us to understand the complexities within that. It pushes us against a construct where we say, well, this kid is gifted but misbehaves a lot and talks a lot, gifted but speaks in a language that I don't really understand, gifted but doesn't seem to finish his assignments. It's kind of a hot mess. And we look at this construct of, well, this was me. I was a kid who was identified gifted at 7 years old, diagnosed with ADHD at 37 years old. But because it was impossible for folks to kind of have that each child mentality in their head and just give me the resources that I needed to be able to move forward and unleash the magic that I was bringing to the table, I was too busy being labeled as gifted but. So when we start making that transition from all students to each child, I know that teachers have a lot on their plate. I know that it's a lot to ask for, particularly in the secondary grades, to meet the needs of all 100 plus students that you have. When we start paying attention to each, when each becomes the goal, it becomes impossible to ignore all the neurodiversity our kids are bringing to the table, all the unique aspects of magic that we have to work with. And when it comes to a world where gifted education in particular seems to be under attack in the name of equity, that move from all to each forces us to address the reality that we have such an important role to play in ensuring that we don't leave genius on the table. And getting rid of that imaginary all, moving towards a much more tangible each, is a practical way to get there. I cannot wait to connect with you all. In the meantime, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at Colin E. Seale or follow our work on Twitter at ThinkLawUS. Thank you so much for helping us create a world where critical thinking will no longer be a luxury good.